listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good afternoon, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on this Monday, August the 12th. I am your host, Mike Oliva, flying solo today. And if you listened to my show over the weekend on Saturday, I dropped a little hint that there might be some Jaylen Phillips news this week. And lo and behold, Monday morning, 10 a.m., the bomb dropped. Jaylen Phillips is back. We're going to talk about all that on today's show. But before we get to that, today's show is brought to you by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey or a gift or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? Don't worry. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home. And yes, they will ship internationally as well. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com. Also, Dolphins Talk Extra. I've been explaining it a lot over the past week. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Bonus shows, extra shows, interactive shows, fantasy football leagues, pick'em leagues, survivor pools with really cool prizes, only $3 a month or $5 a month, and interactive shows where you can join us on podcast. The free stuff like this ain't going nowhere, but there's extra content that's a little bit more laid back and a little bit more interactive at Dolphins Talk Extra. Go to patreon.com/Dolphins Talk Extra. Okay, let's get to the big story of the day. Jaylen Phillips is back. And as I said, if you listen to the show I did Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, I sort of dropped some hints that we might be getting Jaylen Phillips news this week. You know, in this age of social media, anytime you say, sources tell me, I have sources, people mock you, they laugh at you, and then they just brush it off like it's all BS in nature. That's why you'll never hear me say the term sources have told me or I talked to a source, because nobody believes you anyways. So sometimes on these podcasts, a little bit inside baseball, if you read between the lines, I drop little tidbits, little hints of what might be happening that I'm being told. And I sort of did that Saturday. And then Monday at his 10 a.m. press conference, Mike McDaniel announced that the Miami Dolphins are removing Jaylen Phillips from the PUP list. And he practiced today with the team. So this is big news and awesome news for all fans of the Dolphins. Number one, it's big news because the Dolphins today put two linebackers on IR and ended their season. So the linebacker depth got more thin today, which isn't good. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But this news is huge because it's not a lock yet that Jaylen Phillips will play week 1 versus Jacksonville. But I think there's a very, very, very good chance it'll now happen. And even if he does play, he'll probably be on his snap count in those early season, regular season games. But just having him be in the mix on the field for however many snaps he can go is huge. Because between Chubb and Jaylen Phillips, you know, having both out at the start of the season would not have been good in any way. And I had my doubts, and I still have doubts if he'll be ready to go week 1. But I think all signs are pointing to he'll do something week 1, maybe even if it's only 10 snaps or 12 snaps, he'll be on the field for something. Having both of those guys out, two superstars out, it's tough to overcome, especially against quality teams. Like Jacksonville's a quality team. The Bills are a quality team. Even Seattle on some level. On the road, got to fly all the way across the country. That's not an easy spot. So if he's on the field at all for however many snaps, that improves the odds of Miami winning these games. Look, when you got two superstars like that and they're both quote-unquote out, you can live with one of the guys out because you still got Ramsey and Zach Sealer. You got Jordan Brooks has had a nice little camp, and he came back today to practice. And you got Jalen Phillips in the mix. Campbell, like you can overcome it when they're both out. You're asking a lot. And, now with Jalen in the mix, it doesn't mean you're throwing Chop Robinson and Mohamed Kamara to the Wolves in the deep end of the pool. You can bring them along a little bit more slowly now, not have to rush them out in the field to play a lot of snaps in real games. So this is great news across the board for all fans of the Dolphins and for the Dolphins team and organization. I mean, there's no way to spin this. This is awesome news that on August 12th, after this guy ruptured his Achilles on Black Friday in last November, on August 12th, he's out on the field practicing. And today at practice, he went through individual drills with all the outside linebackers and such after the team had their morning stretch, but he did not participate in the team drills, the 7-on-7s, the 11-on-11s, the red zone work, which is fine. Again, as I said on the Saturday podcast, for those of you who listen and sort of got tipped off to this, if there's any hope of him playing week 1, he had to come off PUP at some point this week because you're not going to just take a guy off PUP and say, okay, now go play, or do 1 or 2 days of practice and then go play. It takes 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to ramp him up to football shape, to game shape. So yes, this week he'll probably just do individual drills. He will not participate in the joint practice on Friday or on Thursday with Washington. He will not play in the preseason game or any preseason game. But if it's this week, it's just individual drills. That's cool. The next week, maybe half the week, individual drills. Then they get him out. Then they get him out there in some 7-on-7 drills and 11-on-11 drills. And then the week after that, maybe they get him more integrated and some more stuff. So come week 1, he can give you a few snaps, however many snaps he can go in playing against Jacksonville. So it's that slow and steady ramp up process, which I spoke about Saturday, that we saw the first step today. And he had to get off PUP. And he's off PUP. And this is awesome, awesome, awesome news. Now, let me give you the rest of the news here from today. There's a lot of injury update news, comings and goings. The first bit of news stinks. Grayson Murphy, the undrafted edge rusher out of UCLA, who was, fantastic thus far in camp. And on Friday night, it started the game. First play of the game, blew up an Atlanta running play for a loss of 3. He has an MCL injury. He was placed on IR, and his season's over because you can only take 8 guys off IR between now and the end of the season. So you're not going to waste one of those 8 precious spots on an undrafted guy who might not have made the team anyways. He might have been heading to the practice squad. So Grayson Murphy's season's over. Also, Cam Brown, who, was a special teams ace with the Giants. The main reason Miami signed him was as a special teams ace. He was going to make this team just for his special teams ability. Also a linebacker. He is out for the season as well and placed on IR. The Dolphins didn't say what his injury was, but he did get hurt in the Atlanta game on Friday night. But his season's over. And that one kind of stings a little because we know, again, not hating, stating that Miami's special teams stink. And Sirianni Neal and Cam Brown were brought here to help improve it. Well, now Cam Brown's lost for the season on August 12th. So that kind of stings. Miami did bring in 2 linebackers. They signed them. They signed Wyatt Ray from the UFL. He's been on a bunch of teams in the NFL, mainly practice squads. He's got like 1 forced fumble and 2 sacks over 4 years or so. And another linebacker who I know I'm going to say the last name wrong, David Anai, and he's never played in an NFL game, and he's only been on NFL practice squad. So Dolphins had to put 2 linebackers on IR end of their season. They signed 2 linebackers just to have guys in practice at this point so they can run a practice. But the big story, of course, Jaylen Phillips is back, and we're all looking forward to that. Another name who's back at practice is Eric Izukama, a guy who got hurt week 1 last year versus the Chargers. Neck injury, missed all of 2023 from that point on. And then so far this training camp has been hurt with something else. They didn't say what the something else was, but he has yet to practice. Well, Eric Izukama was back on the practice field today, and boy, do they need him as well because the wide receiver depth ain't very good in Miami. You got Hill, you got Waddle. Then you got Odell Beckham. We'll talk about him in a minute. After that, River Craycraft's had a nice camp. Malik Washington's been okay. He's a rookie, starting to come on a little bit. Braxton Berrios, he did practice today, but he's missed a bunch of time. Willie Snead can't catch a ball. Braylon Sanders can't catch a ball. The other Washington we drafted, he's on IR. His season's over. So just not much at wide receiver depth after Hill and Waddle right now. So Eric Ezukanma, who has a very good chance to make this team because he has a skill set that pretty much no other wide receiver on our roster has. He has height. All of our wide receivers are kind of short, fast guys. Eric Ezukanma's got height. So if Eric Ezukanma's healthy and he can possibly win a roster spot here and make this team, it's no sure thing. It is no sure thing he's going to win a roster spot because I think right now you look at this, you got Hill and Waddle, Odell Beckham if he's healthy, River Craycraft, and Washington is your top 5. They'll probably carry you one more. Braxton Berrios can play special teams. Maybe it's him. They're not carrying 7. So it's going to be interesting here for Eric Ezukanma to see if he can win a roster spot here. And if he does he knock out Braxton Berrios, who did return to practice today? He missed a few practices last week. We'll see. Braxton Berrios, aside from special teams, I don't know what Braxton brings to the table per se. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. And if Malik Washington can return punts and kickoffs, and the Dolphins staff, Mike McDaniel and Crossman, have faith in the rookie returning kicks, then there's really no need for Braxton Berrios. And then you might see Eric Ezukanma knock him out. So keep an eye on that. Odell Beckham, Mike McDaniel, when he met with the media at 10 a.m. on Monday, said that Odell Beckham will remain on PUP for the rest of this week. Now, the same thing with Jaylen Phillips, as I said. You just can't stay on PUP till like a few days prior to week 1 or the week of week 1 or the week before week 1. You got to have a couple weeks of practice here. So with the news that Odell Beckham's going to be on PUP all this week and they will not take him off the PUP list all this week, it's going to be interesting to see how much longer he is on the PUP list, because now we can get into that area, that gray area, that murky area, to where, like, if he's on PUP longer than this week, like next week this time on August 19th, August 20th, then you have to start thinking about, is he going to start the season on PUP and miss the first 4 games of the regular season? Because that's just how the NFL works, folks. I didn't make the rules. You got to do some practice in training camp. You got to do some. And we're getting to that point now. I think we're 24 days away from the week 1 game at Jacksonville. And if Odell Beckham's going to be on PUP all this week, like Mike McDaniel said, it's getting close to where if he's still on it next week this time, I don't know if he'll be playing week 1, let alone the first month of the year. So we'll keep an eye on that here heading into next week. Linebacker Jordan Brooks returned to practice this week after he missed practice pretty much all last week. And Chop Robinson, who Mike McDaniel after the game Friday said had some minor injuries, and that's why he didn't play Friday night versus Atlanta. He returned to practice today as well. So good news there with Brooks and Chop. All right, before I get to today's practice notes and everything that took place on the field, 3 things. FinHeaven.com. Everyone go to FinHeaven.com, the largest Miami Dolphins message board on the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page run by the great, talented, and handsome Carlos Hernandez. If you're on Facebook, please be sure you are part of the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, iHeartRadio, Audible, YouTube, whatever. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode here of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast. We have shows each and every day of the week. We got multiple shows. Kevin Dern, he's going to have me a show soon with his thoughts on the first preseason game. And then tomorrow, Jason Sarney and Marissa, myself and Ian on Wednesday. Josh and Aaron will be doing some shows, so be on the lookout for all of that. Okay. Practice. This was a practice where it was not a light practice, but kind of a light practice, and they worked on a lot of red zone stuff. Number 1, Tua took all the snaps pretty much in his practice until like the final walkthrough drill or 2 where Skylar Thompson saw the field. Mike White took no snaps this day, which will lead me to one of our final topics about Ryan Tannehill. The backup quarterback play in that first preseason game versus Atlanta was so stinking bad. Like, it was so bad that I think there's something going on with the Dolphins and the quarterback depth here. Because in this practice, Tua took pretty much every snap, and Skylar Thompson saw the field for like a handful of plays, and Mike White did nothing. I'll talk about that more in a minute. The Dolphins on Monday worked heavily on red zone drills. Tua was very impressive in the red zone drills. Liam Eichenberg moved over to center with Aaron Brewer out, and we saw Sean Harlow and Jack Driscoll split time at right guard. So, again, with Aaron Brewer, we don't know how long he'll be out. If it does go into the regular season, though, it looks like Liam will move over to center, and we'll have Sean Harlow or Jack Driscoll start at right guard then, all depending on how long this goes, which there's a lot of speculation. It might go 4 to 6 weeks, and Aaron Brewer might miss the first game or two or more of the regular season. We don't know. Once we have that confirmed, we'll let you know. But as of now, it's not looking good for Aaron Brewer. Jordan Brooks, like I said, set out practice all last week. He returned, held Devon Achane for about a loss on a play. Chris Brooks ran in a short touchdown run. Emmanuel Agba had a would-be sack. And I say sack, he's not actually sacking him. It's sort of like two-hand touch on Tua in the red zone. Tua hit Tyreek a few times in the red zone, including one where Tyreek was wide open on the left-hand side of the field. They sort of schemed him open. Tua hit Jonnu Smith for a touchdown in a red zone drill, where Smith ran a route to the back of the end zone. Tua hit Tyreek for 10 yards in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. Tua missed Braxton Berrios when Patrick McMorris had tight, solid coverage on the play. Tua dropped a snap from Liam Eichenberg. Not Liam's fault. Tua dropped that snap. It was a good, clean snap, I was told. Zach Sealer stopped a Raheem Mostert run for almost no gain. Calais Campbell had a tackle for a loss. And Jalen Wright had a big run in the red zone. Again, this practice wasn't as involved in some of the previous practices, so I don't have more notes than this. More than a walkthrough, but less than a full heavy practice. So that was some of the things that happened. Again, Tua took almost every snap. Skylar Thompson took a couple. Mike White took none. Read into that what you will, which leads me to Ryan Tannehill. I wrote an article today up at DolphinsTalk.com. Check it out. I actually wrote it yesterday and Sunday, asking if the Dolphins should explore signing Ryan Tannehill as a backup quarterback. And the feedback on this I got is like no other article I've written probably in the past year. Dolphins fans are evenly split on this. Half the Dolphins fans saying, hell yeah, White and Skylar Thompson stink on toast. At least with Tannehill, I have some little bit of hope. God forbid he needs to play for a game or 2 or 3. And then you got the other side of it saying, Ryan Tannehill stinks. Just give me Mike White or Skylar Thompson. I will say this, and I said this in the article, and I said this on the podcast Saturday too. I want to add on to it, though. God forbid Tua goes down. And I'm talking, look, if he's out for the year, say he gets hurt in October and he's out for the year, it don't matter. With any 3 of these guys, we ain't going to the playoffs, you ain't winning. I understand that. But if Tua goes down for like 2 weeks or a month with a rib injury, a hand injury, whatever, and you only need a guy to start for 2 or 3 weeks, of course give me Ryan Tannehill. Because I'll tell you right now, if Skylar Thompson has to start 2, 3 games or 4 games, you're going 0-2, 0-3, or 0-4. He ain't winning the game. If Mike White has to start 2 or 3 games or 4 games, you're going 0-2, 0-3, or 0-4. If Tannehill has to start 2, 3, or 4 games, you might win 1 or 2. If everything falls right. If you can run the ball enough, play solid on defense, and if he can get the ball out to Hill and Waddle, he gives you a glimmer of hope. Now, as I said in the article, I don't think it's going to happen because I don't think Ryan Tannehill is going to sign a contract for $2 or $3 million. I think Tannehill is going to sit home, who he's used to making probably no less than $9 or $10 million, if not greatly more. You're going to sit home and just wait and watch. And it's bound to happen. It happens every training camp, or it might happen week 1 or week 2. A starting quarterback for a team is going to go down, and it'll be a serious injury. Then that team's going to need a quarterback, and then they'll pay Ryan Tannehill the $7, $8, $9, $10 million he probably wants to come in and play. So I don't think it's going to happen in Miami. But, and I said this in the article as well, I know Ryan Tannehill's not a scheme fit for a Mike McDaniel type offense. Mike McDaniel's offense is about quick passes, get the ball out quick, pocket presence, sort of quick decisions. And Ryan Tannehill, for those of you who remember the days him in Miami or even watch a lot of Tennessee Titans game, that ain't him. He stands in the pocket, he holds on to the ball for a long time, and it takes, he's a slow blinker, as they say. That's one of those inside football terms I don't like to use too much because I think people who use it just, I know an inside football term. He's a slow blinker. Yeah, he's a little bit of a slow blinker. So I don't think it's going to happen. But in a perfect world, if Tannehill would play for $3 million a year, I'd cut Mike White tomorrow, I'd cut Skylar Thompson tomorrow, sign Ryan Tannehill. I think the folks who are against it have to, one, get over the past. It's the past. And two, realize it's just a backup role. He's not coming in here. We just gave Tua $230-something million, $171 million fully guaranteed pretty much. He ain't coming here to compete with. It's a backup quarterback job for a couple $1 million. So I'm all for that. And then I saw some people on social media go, never get back together with your ex. Once they're gone, that's your ex. You never get back together. Yeah. And then I said, well, we got back together with Jason Taylor and nobody complained because Jason Taylor went to the Jets in Washington. No problems. We took him back with open arms. So again, I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know. I actually think it should because Mike White and Skylar Thompson were brutal. And if they're bad again this weekend versus Washington, then I think the Dolphins seriously have to consider, even if it's not Tannehill, somebody else. Let me just say that, somebody else. Okay, so that's all for the football portion of this show. I got a topic at the end that has nothing to do with the Miami Dolphins. It's just me. I'm going to go on a rant about something non-football related just because I have to get it off my chest. So let me say this. Thank you all for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok at DolphinsTalk, and visit the website, DolphinsTalk.com. If you want to hear me rant about something and go off, okay, here I go. And let me just play the jingle since we're doing it.
And now it's time for another one of Mike's Rants.
Okay, here's the deal. I haven't had a rant in a long time. And usually when I rant, 99.9% of the times, it's about the Miami Dolphins after a bad loss or something's happened. This is not anything to do with that. People often ask me, why do you host a podcast? It seems like a lot of time. Seems like you might not get a lot of money out of it. Like, why do you host a podcast? And I said, hosting a podcast, there's two answers to hosting a podcast. A, get free food. B, hurt your enemies. And what I'm about to say falls into the hurt your enemies portion of that saying. VividSeats.com might be the single worst company known to mankind. They are terrible. So we here every year at the DolphinsTalk.com podcast run our Military Fan of the Year contest. We pick 2 winners to send to games. I get them seats, 2 seats for each game, and a parking pass for each game. We give them $100 as well. And most years it goes smoothly. There's no problems. It goes off without a hitch, and there's never an issue. But the most challenging part of this each year is the parking pass aspect of this. Because parking at Hard Rock Stadium is a challenge. You got to have a pass, orange, yellow. Used to be blue. Now it's just orange and yellow, this, that, and the other. And most of these people don't live down there, so I like to get them a parking pass in advance, obviously, as part of the prize. So there's no issue. And, finding the seats to the game for each game, you can go through Ticketmaster, smooth, no issues. Parking pass, I got one from someone I know, had an extra for one of the winners, no problem. The Jacksonville one, which of course is the game week 1, that kind of has a clock on it because the other winner was going in October. No rush. I had time, but I got it out of the way anyways. So I go to Vivid Seats and I buy him an orange parking pass. Not cheap, but hey, part of the contest. And when I buy it, there's ways you can buy it. You can do electronic transfer or you can do ship via UPS. I pick ship via UPS because they can send it to me. Then once it's in my hand, I know it's real and I have it, and I'll send it to the winners plenty of time. So I buy it, and oh my God. As soon as I buy it, I see for how it's going to be sent here. Special delivery. Not ship UPS like I bought it. Special delivery. We will meet you. You get an email with instructions how to get it. Mind you, I don't live down there. I'm not going to this game down there. I just want the thing sent to me so I can send it to the winners and just move on with my life. Something I've done last year and previous years and every year. Just make it simple for me. So I have to reach out to a customer service rep. I reached out to one a couple weeks ago. It's nothing. They don't give you no help. It's like talking to a goddamn wall. So I waited a few weeks, and I did get the parking pass one other way because I couldn't. Talking to vividseats.com, whatever, it's like death. I mean, the first time I tried a few weeks ago, I got nowhere. So I go, you know what? I can't depend on these people. Let me get the park. So I bought a second parking pass to send to the winners because I didn't trust I was ever getting one from these guys. But I still paid for this thing, and it still should be sent to me. So I tried today to reach out to their customer service again, and Jesus Christ on a cracker, talking to a customer service rep from this company is like trying to scare a fly off a manure truck. It's pointless. It won't work, and you'll feel shitty after you try. They give you robotic answers. They give you scripted answers. It's probably an AI bot because no human can sound this stupid. I could eat a bowl of alphabet soup and shit out a better answer than what they gave me. If you get nowhere with this company. Now, this is the second time I've tried it with a customer service. It's just scripted answers. Same scripted answers that gave me the first. It's not even a real person. And if it is a real person, just copying and pasting scripted answers to send me. So I go on Twitter, X, whatever the hell we're calling it, and I go, you know what? I'm probably out the money. Not the end of the world. Whatever. I'm probably never going to see this parking pass. Or, as they keep telling me, the event's on September 8th. By September 7th, we'll make sure that you know how to get your thing. I can't wait till September 7th. I keep telling them this. That's not the issue. I know the date of the goddamn event. That's not the issue. So I get nowhere. So I send them, and I put up a tweet saying vividseats.com is the worst company in America, because they are. They're horrible. And, then how can we help you? Send us a private message. We'll help you. I go, no. You can either call me, and I've said put someone in power to call me, or don't bother, because I'm not going to just go through and get the same scripted answers again from somebody else just now in a private chat through my Twitter account. So I'm just warning people, vividseats.com sucks. They are a cold sore on the lip of life. Vividseats.com is like if a colonoscopy was a company. Vividseats.com is like a dry hand job, and I hope their CEO tonight goes home and steps on Legos with no socks. My expectations of anything being resolved with them is low as a rattlesnake's belly button. Vividseats.com stinks. So even though I'm out money and I had to come up with an alternative to get this parking pass to one of our great military veterans, or our great military people who won this contest, and I took care of them to make sure that their experience is going to work out. It's going to be my mission to use my platforms, whether this podcast, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and if just yelling out my window sitting right here in front of me, to make this company's life a living hell. They stink. And some of you might be saying, why are you even talking about them? Look, here's why. The world is filled with idiots, and somebody has to point it out to them, or they will never know. And if they don't know, they can never change. And believe me, vividseats.com needs to change. So they can go to hell and stay there. They stink as a company, and that's all I got to say about that. So for those of you who stayed on to listen to my rant, thank you. Again, everyone, have a great Monday night. Have a great Tuesday. Visit DolphinsTalk.com for all the latest Miami Dolphins news, information, rumors, original commentary, articles. Be sure to sign up for Dolphins Talk Extra. Boy, you don't know what you're missing out on there. A lot of fun stuff is happening now, and more is going to come. And thank you for those who have already signed up. We are overwhelmed with the response we got just in the last week alone when we first announced this last Monday. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And wherever you're listening to this podcast, hit subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. And folks, don't forget, wherever you are, please don't forget, we must put an end to highway profanity.